When someone asks you about your childhood and your mind goes blank for a second, not because it was terrible, and not because nothing happened, but because somewhere between the ages of 7 and 17, large parts of it feel missing, like chapters that were skipped. That gap is what we're talking about today. There's something that happens when childhood ends before it's supposed to, and it's rarely dramatic. There's no single moment where everything changes. It's making dinner for your siblings at 9 years old. It's translating adult conversations you shouldn't understand yet. It's learning to read the emotional temperature of a room before you learn long division. And here's the part people don't talk about enough. The child who had to grow up too fast doesn't disappear. They grow up with you. They shape how you make decisions, how you handle stress, how you love, how you rest, or don't. Let me make this clearer. Imagine a child, maybe 8 years old, who suddenly becomes the most responsible person in the household. Not because they want to be, because they have to be. Something shifts. Psychologists call this parentification, when a child takes on emotional or practical roles that belong to adults. But that word doesn't fully capture the experience. It doesn't capture the weight of being small and holding something far bigger than you. Researcher Dr. Lisa Hooper found that children who grow up this way often appear unusually mature. They're calm, capable, reliable. But here's the crucial part. That's not true maturity. It's a survival adaptation. It's a child's nervous system learning that being alert, responsible, and emotionally contained is the only way things stay together. Crisis becomes the baseline. And when crisis feels normal, calm feels unfamiliar. That lesson doesn't stay in childhood. It becomes an operating system, and it keeps running long after the danger is gone. People who grew up too fast often develop remarkable skills. They read emotions instantly. They sense tension before anyone says a word. They anticipate needs before they're expressed. Problem solving becomes automatic because failure was never an option. These traits look like strengths, and in many ways they are, but they come with a cost that usually shows up much later. Here's the strange part. People who grew up too fast often struggle most with the simplest things, not big life crises. They handle those with frightening competence. It's the small things, asking for help, resting without guilt, letting themselves be playful, messy, or carefree. Those things feel unsafe because early on, they learned something deeply. The world doesn't stop for you. Your needs come second. Stability depends on you holding everything together. That belief didn't just teach you responsibility, it shaped your nervous system, and that system is still active. In adulthood, this often looks like becoming the reliable one. You may find yourself drawn to people who need fixing, not because you have a savior complex, but because being needed feels like love. It's the version of love you learned first. Relationships can become complicated. Intimacy feels exposing because vulnerability wasn't safe when you were younger. It was a luxury you couldn't afford. You might notice a pattern of being drawn to emotionally unavailable people. Before you judge yourself for that, understand this. Unavailable feels familiar. It feels like home. Home was a place where you gave endlessly and received very little. So when someone offers consistency, presence, and care, it can feel strange, even uncomfortable, like waiting for something to go wrong. Control becomes another theme. This is about managing every variable, because unpredictability once meant chaos. Chaos meant things falling apart. So you plan. You overthink. You run through dozens of scenarios before making small decisions. People may call you anxious, perfectionistic, or type A. What they're really seeing is a nervous system that learned early that letting your guard down had consequences. The exhaustion that comes with this is profound. That deep, bone-level tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. That's not laziness. That's a body that's been in overdrive since childhood. Your nervous system never learned that rest was safe. Rest once meant things might fall apart. And here's something that often surprises people. Many adults who grew up too fast have a complicated relationship with success. They achieve things, impressive things, and yet it never quite feels like enough. There's always another goal, another standard, another reason to prove yourself, because your worth became tied to usefulness very early on. And the uncomfortable truth is this: the world rewards this. Society loves people who grew up too fast. They're productive, independent, low maintenance, emotionally contained. They get things done. But almost no one asks what it cost them to become this way. Another pattern often appears here. You become fluent in emotional labor. You manage tension in a room before it escalates. You smooth conflict before it explodes. And the strangest part? You might not even notice you're doing it. It's automatic, like breathing. You can be surrounded by people and still feel deeply alone. Not lonely in the obvious sense. Alone because no one sees how much effort it takes to keep everything stable. And asking to be seen feels risky, almost like failure. So what do you do with all of this? The first step is grief. And yes, that word matters. You're grieving a real loss. The childhood you didn't get to have. The version of you who could be messy, needy, and irresponsible, and still loved. Acknowledging that doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. The second step is learning something that feels deeply uncomfortable. Being needed is not the same as being valued. Your worth is not measured by productivity, competence, or emotional management. You are not a human doing. You are a human being. And being is enough. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to not have answers. You're allowed to fall apart sometimes. You're even allowed to receive care without earning it first. And maybe most importantly, you're allowed to be a beginner at being taken care of. So, patience matters. That child who grew up too fast did something extraordinary. They kept things together. They adapted. They survived. But they don't have to run the show anymore. It's safe to let someone else take a turn. It's safe to soften. It's safe to be playful, even if you're late to it. You've been holding on for a long time. What would it feel like to finally let go? If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more psychology and human behavior deep dives. And if you'd like to support the channel, joining as a member truly helps.